The vast emptiness of space stretched out before the GHS Dauntless as it glided through the darkness. The year was 2187, and humanity had pushed beyond the solar system into nearby stars. Captain Tadwan Kim sat in his command chair, his eyes fixed on the main screen. "Status report," he said. Commander Ji-Hai Park, his second-in-command, stood next to him. "All systems normal, Captain. We're approaching the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system." Captain Kim nodded. The Dauntless was the pride of the global human space force. It was built for exploration but armed for war. Humans had learned long ago that the universe might not be friendly. "Sir, I'm picking up strange energy readings," said Officer Han Bin, who watched the sensor station. "I've never seen anything like this before." Captain Kim leaned forward. "Put it on the main screen." The screen showed a cluster of lights growing larger. They moved in a pattern that was clearly not natural. "Those are ships," said Commander Park. "And they're not human." The bridge fell silent. Humanity had explored 12 star systems, but had never found intelligent alien life. Until now. "Battle stations," ordered Captain Kim, "but weapon systems on standby only. Let's not start a war if we don't have to." Red lights flashed as the crew rushed to their positions. Lieutenant Kyung-Ho Lee, the security officer, moved to the weapons console. "Sir, the alien ships are slowing down," said Officer Han Bin. "They're matching our speed. I think they want to talk." Captain Kim took a deep breath. This moment would make history. "Open a communication channel," he said. "All frequencies." Minutes passed in tense silence. Then the main screen flickered. A face appeared that was unlike anything they had seen before. The alien had smooth purple skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and no visible nose. When it spoke, its mouth moved in strange ways. "Unknown vessel, we are the Voidborn," said the alien. Its voice came through the translator with a metallic echo. "We claim this sector of space. Identify yourselves." Captain Kim stood up straight. "I am Captain Tadwan Kim of the Global Human Space Force vessel Dauntless. We come from Earth and the Sol system. We are on a mission of peaceful exploration." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in an odd sequence. "Humans," it said, "we have not encountered your kind before. I am Space Commander Laksu of the Voidborn Empire. We control 47 star systems in this region." Captain Kim tried not to show his surprise. 47 systems meant the Voidborn were far more advanced than humans. "We wish to establish peaceful relations with the Voidborn," said Captain Kim. "Perhaps," said Space Commander Laksu. "But first we must learn about you. Will you allow us to scan your vessel? This is standard procedure when we meet new species." Lieutenant Lee moved closer to the captain. "Sir, I don't recommend that. We don't know what kind of scans they're talking about. They could gather military information." Captain Kim considered this. First contact was always dangerous, but refusing might seem hostile. "We will allow basic scans of our ship as a show of good faith," he said to the alien. "But we request that you limit your scans to non-military systems." Space Commander Laksu made a gesture that might have been agreement. "Very well. We will begin scanning now." Officer Han Bin reported. "Captain, they're using some kind of energy beam. It's passing through our shields like they're not even there." Lieutenant Lee frowned. "Sir, these aren't basic scans. They're looking at everything. Weapons, engines, life support, even the crew quarters." "Should we raise shields to full power?" asked Commander Park. Captain Kim shook his head. "No, let them look. We have nothing to hide." But he wondered if he was making a mistake. For the next hour, the Voidborn ships circled the Dauntless. Their scans covered every inch of the human vessel. Then suddenly, the alien ships began to move away. "Sir, they're leaving," said Officer Han Bin. "They've cut the communication link." "Try to re-establish contact," ordered Captain Kim. "No response, sir. They're ignoring us." Lieutenant Lee looked worried. That's not a good sign. They saw something they didn't like. Captain Kim watched the alien ships grow smaller on the screen. Or something they feared, he said quietly. 3 days later, the Dauntless continued its patrol. The crew was still talking about the sudden departure of the Voidborn. Some thought the aliens were simply cautious. Others worried that they were planning an attack. Captain Kim was in his quarters when the communication system beeped. "Captain, we're receiving an encrypted message," said Commander Park's voice. "It's using a frequency the Voidborn were using, but it's coming from deeper in their territory." "I'll be right there," he said. On the bridge, Officer Subin was trying to decode the message. "It's definitely not an official communication," she said. "The encryption is different." After several minutes, the message appeared on the screen. The face of a Voidborn appeared, but this one had lighter skin and only 3 eyes. It spoke quickly and looked nervous. "Humans of the vessel Dauntless, I am Rax, a science officer of the Voidborn. I risk my life to send this warning. The scans of your ship revealed things that have terrified our military leaders. They have classified your species as a Class 1 threat, the highest danger level." The crew exchanged worried glances. "I believe this is a mistake," continued Rax. "But I am being watched. I cannot say more now. If you wish to avoid conflict, you must act quickly. There are others among my kind who think as I do. We can help each other. I will try to contact you again when it is safer." The message ended. "Can we trace it back to its source?" asked Captain Kim. Officer Subin shook her head. "No, sir. The signal bounced through too many relays." Captain Kim turned to Commander Park. "Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. We need to report this to Command immediately." "Yes, sir," she replied. "Do you think the Voidborn will attack us?" "I don't know," said Captain Kim, "but I want to be prepared either way." As the Dauntless changed course, Lieutenant Lee approached the captain. "Sir, what do you think they saw that scared them so much?" Captain Kim thought for a moment. "They saw humans, Lieutenant, and sometimes that's enough to be afraid." At Earth Command Headquarters, Admiral Sung-ho stood before the United Earth Defense Council. Captain Kim and Commander Park sat nearby, having just finished their report. "So these Voidborn scanned the Dauntless and then classified us as a major threat," said Council Member Yuna. "But we don't know why." "Not exactly," said Admiral Sung-ho. "But our xenobiology team has been analyzing the scan data we got from the Voidborn ships. Dr. Yunji, please share your findings." Dr. Yunji Choi stepped forward. She was Earth's leading expert on alien biology, though until now she had only studied simple life forms found on other planets. "The Voidborn are very different from us," she explained. "Based on our scans, they evolved on a planet with low gravity and little radiation. They have no natural predators. Their bodies are efficient but fragile. They've never needed to develop the physical resilience the humans have." She showed images comparing human and Voidborn biology. A broken bone would heal in weeks for a human, but might be permanent damage for a Voidborn. They can't handle the stress levels that humans consider normal. Even our ordinary work shifts would exhaust them. Captain Kim suddenly understood. So when they scanned us, they saw a species that can endure conditions they find unbearable. They saw our history of surviving disasters, wars, and hardships. "Exactly," said Dr. Yunji. "To them, we might seem like monsters, creatures that thrive in harsh conditions and keep fighting long after their own bodies should have given up." Commander Park added, "And they also saw our weapons. The Dauntless may be an exploration vessel, but it's built for combat too." Council Member Yuna looked troubled. "So they might attack us not because we've done anything wrong, but because our very nature frightens them." "That's my assessment," said Dr. Yunji. "And it gets worse. This message from the Voidborn scientist, Rax. We've decoded more of it." She nodded to Lieutenant Kyung-ho Lee. Lieutenant Lee projected more text onto the screen. Rax sent additional data hidden in the message. It shows that the Voidborn military is already gathering a fleet. They're calling it a preventive security action against the human threat. The council room grew quiet as everyone realized what this meant. They're preparing for war, said Admiral Sung-ho. Not because of anything we've done, but because of what we are. Captain Kim stood up. Admiral, with your permission, I'd like to take the Dauntless back to Voidborn space. Not to fight, but to find Rox and any other Voidborn who might help us establish peaceful contact. If we can show them we're not the monsters they think we are, maybe we can avoid a war. Admiral Sung-ho thought for a moment, then nodded. Very well, Captain. But you won't go alone. I'm authorizing Operation Shadowfall, a small fleet to accompany you. Be diplomatic if possible, but be prepared for anything. As the meeting ended, Captain Kim and Commander Park walked together toward the landing bay. Do you think we can convince the Voidborn not to fear us? Asked Commander Park. Captain Kim looked up at the stars visible through the station's dome. I hope so, because if we can't, humanity will have to prove exactly how dangerous we can be when threatened, and I'd rather not show them that. The future of human and Voidborn relations now rested on Captain Kim's mission. The Dauntless would return to the stars, carrying with it the hope for peace and the readiness for war. 1 week had passed since the first contact with the Voidborn. The GHS Dauntless was now docked at Earth's main space station. Captain Tadwan Kim stood at the window of the meeting room, watching ships move through space. Behind him, the United Earth Defense Council prepared for an emergency session. Captain, we're ready to begin, said Admiral Sung Min-yoon. Captain Kim turned and took his seat next to Commander Jae Park. The large table was filled with military leaders and scientists. Screens on the walls showed officials from Mars and the Jupiter colonies. We need to understand exactly what the Voidborn saw when they scanned the Dauntless, said Admiral Yoon. Dr. Yoon-ji, please start your presentation. Dr. Yoon-ji Choi stood up and touched a control panel. A 3D image of a Voidborn appeared above the table. My team has analyzed all our scanned data of the Voidborn, she said. Their biology tells us much about why they fear humans. She pointed to different parts of the alien. The Voidborn evolved on a planet with 1/3 Earth's gravity. Their bones are light, and their muscles are weak by our standards. Their homeworld has little radiation and few dangerous animals. They never needed to become tough or strong. She showed a comparison between human and Voidborn cells. Their cells cannot repair damage as quickly as ours. What we call minor injuries could be serious for them. A broken bone that heals in weeks for us might disable a Voidborn for life. Admiral Yoon frowned. So they're physically weaker. But that doesn't explain why they're so afraid. They must have advanced weapons to control so many star systems. Dr. Yoon-ji nodded. Yes, they're technologically advanced. But technology can't change their basic nature. When they scanned the Dauntless, they didn't just see our weapons. They saw us. Captain Kim stood up. With your permission, Admiral, I can explain what they likely saw in the scan data. Go ahead, Captain. Captain Kim walked to the front of the room. The Dauntless was on a standard patrol when we met the Voidborn. They would have seen our crew working in ways that might shock them. He showed images from the ship's logs. First, they saw human endurance. During our last emergency drill, my crew worked for 36 hours straight with only short rest breaks. The Voidborn would find this impossible. Their bodies require much more rest than ours. Commander Park joined him and added, they also saw our redundant systems, both in the ship's design and in human biology. She displayed a diagram of the Dauntless's systems. Our ship has backup systems for every critical function. If one fails, another takes over. They would have seen this same pattern in human bodies. 2 lungs, 2 kidneys, a heart that can keep working even when damaged. Lieutenant Kyung-ho Lee, the security officer from the Dauntless, spoke next. They also scanned our weapons systems, he said. Human weapons are designed with brutal efficiency. We build them to work in terrible conditions. Extreme heat, Cold, radiation. Our military training teaches us to keep fighting even when hurt or tired. The AI specialist, Dr. Minho Kang, stepped forward. The Voidborn would have been particularly alarmed by Athena, our ship's AI system, he said. Unlike their AIs, which follow strict rules, HFY can adapt and solve problems creatively. During the scan, HFY was running combat simulations that would seem very aggressive to the Voidborn. Captain Kim continued, but what probably frightened them most was our history. The ship's database contains Earth's entire history, countless wars, disasters, and near-extinction events that humans survived. He showed images from human history, people surviving in deserts, Arctic regions, even space. To a species that evolved in safety, our history looks like an endless series of horrors. Yet we not only survived but grew stronger. They must see us as incredibly dangerous, beings who thrive on hardship and conflict. The room was silent as the council members considered this. Lieutenant Do-hyun Kang, the Dauntless's intelligence officer, spoke up. I've decoded more of Rax's message. He specifically mentioned what scared the Voidborn military leaders. He displayed new text on the screen. The Voidborn High Command is terrified by human nature itself. They don't understand how we can function under what they consider extreme stress. They saw our space exploration as aggressive expansion, though we think of it as cautious and slow. Lieutenant Do-hyun continued, Rax says the Voidborn are preparing a first strike against human worlds. They believe eliminating us now is safer than waiting until we expand further. Admiral Yoon stood up. Then we must prepare our defenses. If war is coming. Admiral, interrupted Captain Kim, there might be another way. Rax reached out to us. That means not all Voidborn see humans as a threat. Some want to understand us. Dr. Yunji agreed. From a scientific perspective, our differences could be complementary rather than threatening. We each have strengths the other lacks. Admiral Yoon considered this. What do you propose, Captain? Operation Shadowfall. Sir, but not as a military response. Let me take the Dauntless and 2 other ships to Voidborn space. Our mission will be to find Rax and other friendly Voidborn. If we can show them we want peace, we might prevent war. The Admiral thought for a long moment. Very well, but you'll need to move fast. If the Voidborn are planning an attack, we don't have much time. 2 days later, Captain Kim stood on the bridge of the Dauntless as it prepared to leave Earth orbit. 2 other ships, the Phoenix and the Horizon, would join them on the mission. All systems ready, Captain, reported Commander Park. The Phoenix and Horizon are in position. Good, said Captain Kim. Set course for the Epsilon Eridani system, maximum speed. As the ships accelerated away from Earth, Lieutenant Lee approached the captain. Sir, I've been studying the Voidborn scan data more carefully. There's something odd about it. What do you mean? Asked Captain Kim. Lieutenant Lee showed him a data tablet. The scans focused heavily on our medical bay and crew recovery areas. They spent more time analyzing how humans heal than looking at our weapons. Captain Kim thought about this. They weren't just assessing us as a military threat. They were trying to understand what we are. Commander Park joined them. Captain, I've been thinking about what Dr. Yunji said. The Voidborn see us as monsters because we can survive conditions they can't. But that's not the whole truth about humans. What do you mean? Asked Captain Kim. We should show them the other side of humanity, she said. Yes, we're tough and can endure hardship, but we also create art, music, and beauty. We care for each other. We heal instead of just fighting. Captain Kim nodded slowly. You're right. If we only show them our strength, they'll keep fearing us. We need to show them all of what makes us human. He turned to the communications officer. Send a message to the Phoenix and Horizon. Tell them we're changing our approach. This isn't just a diplomatic mission anymore. It's a cultural exchange. As the 3 ships traveled toward Voidborn space, The crews prepared to show aliens who feared them the full truth of humanity, not just their ability to fight, but their desire for peace, not just their strength in battle, but their compassion, not just their will to survive, but their art, music, and dreams. The Dauntless sped through the darkness, carrying humanity's hope for understanding. Captain Kim knew the mission would be dangerous. The Voidborn military still viewed humans as monsters to be destroyed. But now, at least, he had a plan to change their minds. "Status report," he called. "All systems normal, Captain," replied Commander Park. "Estimated arrival at the edge of Voidborn space in 3 days." Captain Kim nodded. "Good. Let's hope we can make them see us for what we really are before it's too late." Behind them, Earth grew smaller in the view screens. Ahead lay the territory of an alien empire that saw humans as terrifying creatures. The truth of humanity would soon be tested against the fears of the Voidborn, and the outcome would determine whether there would be peace or war among the stars. The 3 human ships moved silently through the darkness of space. The Dauntless led the way, with the Phoenix and Horizon following close behind. They had reached the edge of Voidborn territory, and danger was all around them. Captain Taiwan Kim stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, watching the stars on the main screen. They had shut down all non-essential systems to avoid detection. The ships were running as quietly as possible. "Status report," he said softly. Commander Ji-Hai Park checked her console. "All systems on minimal power. Stealth shields holding. No sign of Voidborn patrols yet." Captain Kim nodded. They had been traveling for 3 days since leaving Earth. Now they were in enemy space, and one mistake could start a war. "Sir," called Officer Hanbin, "I'm detecting energy signals ahead. Voidborn ships." "How many?" asked Captain Kim. 5 vessels. Patrol formation. They haven't spotted us yet." Captain Kim turned to Commander Park. "Options. We could go around them, but it would add 6 hours to our journey," she said. "Or we could try to slip past them. Our stealth technology should hide us if we keep our distance." Captain Kim thought for a moment. "We'll go past them. Notify the Phoenix and Horizon. All ships maintain radio silence unless absolutely necessary." The 3 human ships adjusted their course slightly. On the screen, they could see the Voidborn patrol, 5 sleek vessels with glowing engines. They moved in a perfect pattern, scanning space around them. "They're very orderly," said Lieutenant Kyun-Ho Lee. "No random movements at all." "Different evolution, different thinking," replied Commander Park. "They value order and predictability. It helps them feel safe." The human ships crept forward, staying in the patrol's sensor shadow. They were almost past when an alarm flashed silently on Officer Hanbin's console. "Sir," he whispered urgently, "one of the Voidborn ships has changed course. They're heading right for us. I think they detected something." Everyone on the bridge tensed. If the Voidborn patrol found them here, deep in their territory, they would assume the worst. "Hold position," ordered Captain Kim. "Power down everything but life support and stealth shields." The lights on the bridge dimmed. The air grew still as the ventilation system slowed. In the darkness, the crew watched as the Voidborn ship approached on the screen. It moved closer and closer. At any moment, they expected alarms to sound, weapons to lock on them. The Voidborn ship was now so close they could see details of its hull. Then, without warning, it turned away and rejoined the patrol. "They missed us," said Commander Park, relief in her voice. "This time," said Captain Kim, "let's not push our luck. Resume course to the coordinates Rox sent us, but stay alert. There will be more patrols ahead." Hours later, the 3 human ships approached a small moon orbiting a gas giant. According to Rox's message, this was where they would find him, at a remote research station. "Scan the moon," ordered Captain Kim. Lieutenant Do-hyun worked at his console. "I'm detecting a small installation on the far side. Minimal power signature. Only a few life forms present." That must be it, said Captain Kim. Commander Park, prepare a landing team. We'll take a shuttle down. The Dauntless and the other ships will remain in orbit, hidden behind the moon. Commander Park nodded. Who should be on the team? You and I will go, said Captain Kim. And we'll need Dr. Minho Kang for his scientific expertise. Lieutenant Lee for security. Small team, less threatening. An hour later, the shuttle left the Dauntless and descended toward the moon. It was a barren place with no atmosphere. The surface was gray dust and rocks. The Voidborn research station was built into the side of a crater, a small cluster of domes connected by tubes. No defense systems detected, reported Lieutenant Lee as they approached. They're not expecting trouble here. The shuttle landed a short distance from the station. The team put on their spacesuits and walked across the dusty surface. A small airlock door opened as they approached. They know we're here, said Commander Park. Let's hope it's Rox and not someone who wants to kill us, replied Captain Kim. They entered the airlock, waited for it to cycle, and then stepped into the station. Inside, the air was thinner than humans preferred but breathable. The gravity was also lighter than Earth's. 3 Voidborn waited for them. 2 had the 4 eyes that seemed normal for their species, but the third had only 3 eyes and lighter skin. Captain Kim recognized him from the secret message. Rox, he said, removing his helmet. The 3-eyed Voidborn stepped forward. Captain Kim, you took a great risk coming here. We had little choice, said Captain Kim. Your people are planning to attack ours. Rox's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. Yes, the High Command is afraid of humans. The scans of your ship showed them things they don't understand. That's why we came, said Dr. Minho, to help you understand us. Rox gestured to the other Voidborn. These are my colleagues, Tila and more. They also believe the High Command is making a mistake. We are scientists, not warriors. We see the value in difference. The humans followed Rox and his friends deeper into the station. They entered a room with screens showing data, much of it about the Dauntless and its crew. This is what frightened them most, said Rox, pointing to images of humans exercising in the ship's gym. Your bodies can take damage and become stronger. To us, this seems impossible, even unnatural. It's how we evolved, explained Dr. Minho. On Earth, living things must adapt to survive. Those that can handle stress and recover from it live to reproduce. Rox touched another screen, showing the ship's battle simulations. And this, you practice war constantly. The High Command sees this as proof that humans live to fight. Captain Kim shook his head. We practice because we hope to never use these skills. We prepare for the worst while working for the best. A difficult concept for the Voidborn, said Tila, speaking for the first time. Her voice was higher than Rox. Our society values stability above all. Change is frightening to us, which is why we need to talk more, not prepare for war, said Commander Park. Rox seemed troubled. I agree, but the High Command does not. After scanning your ship, they classified humans as a Class 1 threat species. They've been building weapons specifically designed to target human biology. The humans exchanged worried glances. What kind of weapons? Asked Lieutenant Lee. More, the 3rd Voidborn, touched a control, and new images appeared on the screen. They showed designs for missiles and energy weapons. These target your unique biology, said Moore. They are designed to cause maximum damage to human tissue while leaving other life forms unharmed. The first prototypes are already being tested. How soon until they're ready? Asked Captain Kim. 2 weeks, maybe less, replied Rox. Once they are deployed, War Commander Threx will lead a fleet to your solar system. Captain Kim's face grew serious. Then we have little time. We need to speak directly to your leaders to show them humans aren't the monsters they think we are. Rox's 3 eyes widened. Impossible. The High Command would never meet with you. They would see it as a trick. Then what about this War Commander Threx? Asked Commander Park. Could we meet with him? The three Voidborn looked at each other. Threx is difficult, said Tila. He lost family in our last interspecies conflict. He leads the faction that wants to strike against humans first. Then he's exactly who we need to convince, said Captain Kim. If we can change his mind, others might follow. Rax seemed doubtful. How would you even reach him? His fleet is at the central command base, heavily guarded. Captain Kim smiled slightly. We got this far without being detected. I think we can manage a little further. Before Rax could respond, alarms began to sound throughout the station. One of the screens changed to show space above the moon. A large Voidborn fleet had appeared in orbit. They found us, said Lieutenant Lee. No, said Rax, checking the data. This is scheduled. War Commander Threx is bringing his fleet here to inspect the new weapons being developed at the main facility on this moon. They don't know you're here. Captain Kim looked at the screen, studying the Voidborn ships. One was much larger than the others, a massive vessel that must be the command ship. That gives me an idea, he said. A dangerous one. Sir, asked Commander Park. We need to speak with Threx directly, said Captain Kim. And now he's right above us. This might be our only chance. They'll destroy us the moment they see our ships, warned Lieutenant Lee. Captain Kim shook his head. Not if we don't give them a reason to. Not if we do something they would never expect. He turned to Rax. I need a way to communicate directly with War Commander Threx's ship. An emergency channel they can't ignore. Rax hesitated, then nodded. There is such a channel. But what will you say that won't lead to immediate attack? Captain Kim's expression was determined. I'm going to invite him aboard the Dauntless. Everyone stared at him in shock. You want to bring the leader of the Voidborn military onto our ship? Asked Commander Park. The same leader who wants to destroy all humans. Yes, said Captain Kim, because seeing is believing. The scans frightened them because they didn't understand what they were seeing. We need to show Threx the truth about humanity, not just our strength, but our desire for peace. He looked at each person in the room. It's a gamble, yes, but the alternative is war, a war neither of our species truly wants. After a moment of silence, Rax spoke. I will help you contact Threx's ship, but I cannot predict his response. None of us can, said Captain Kim. That's what makes diplomacy both an art and a risk. But if there's even a small chance of peace, we must take it. As Rax prepared the communication channel, Captain Kim stared at the image of the Voidborn fleet in orbit. Soon, he would either make the greatest diplomatic breakthrough in human history, or lead his crew into a trap from which they might never escape. The fate of two species now rested on one conversation, and it was about to begin. The message was sent. Captain Taiwan Kim stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, waiting for a response from War Commander Threx. The crew was tense, knowing that a Voidborn battle fleet hung in space just beyond the moon's shadow. Do you think he'll come? Asked Commander Jai Park. I don't know, said Captain Kim. But he's curious enough to not destroy us immediately. That's something. The Dauntless and the other two human ships had revealed their position. It was a dangerous move, but hiding was no longer an option. If they wanted peace, they had to take risks. Captain, we're receiving a transmission, said Officer Subin. It's from the Voidborn command ship. Captain Kim nodded. Put it on screen. The main view screen lit up. A Voidborn with dark purple skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern appeared. Unlike Rax and the scientists, this one wore armor plates over his chest. His eyes were cold. I am War Commander Threx of the Voidborn Empire, he said. You have violated our territory and should be destroyed. Yet you ask for a meeting. Explain quickly, human. Captain Kim stood straight. War Commander, I am Captain Ta-1 Kim of Earth. We came here not to fight but to prevent war. Your scans of our ship led your leaders to fear humans. But what you saw was incomplete. I invite you aboard the Dauntless to see the full truth about humanity. Threx's eyes narrowed. You invite me onto a human warship. You must think me a fool." "No," said Captain Kim. "I think you're a leader who wants to protect his people. As do I. That's why we must talk. Bring guards if you wish. Set whatever conditions make you feel safe. But meet with us face to face before you decide on war." The Voidborn commander was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "Very well. I will come to your ship with my guards. But know this, at the first sign of treachery, my fleet will destroy all 3 of your vessels." "Understood," said Captain Kim. "We'll prepare for your arrival." When the transmission ended, Commander Park turned to Captain Kim. "Sir, are you sure about this? Having Threx aboard is extremely dangerous." "More dangerous than open war?" asked Captain Kim. "We need to show him who we really are, not who he fears we are. Prepare the ship. I want everything ready, not just security, but all the things we discussed. It's time to show the Voidborn the truth about humanity." 2 hours later, a Voidborn shuttle docked with the Dauntless. Captain Kim, Commander Park, and Lieutenant Lee waited at the airlock. The door opened, and War Commander Threx stepped through with 4 armed guards. The Voidborn soldiers looked nervous despite their weapons. They moved cautiously, as if expecting an attack at any moment. "Welcome aboard the Dauntless, War Commander," said Captain Kim with a small bow. Threx did not return the gesture. "Let us be clear, human. I am here to assess the threat your species poses to the Voidborn. Nothing more." "Then let me show you exactly who we are," replied Captain Kim. "Please, follow me." He led the Voidborn through the ship. The first stop was the bridge, where the crew worked at their stations. "This is where we command the ship," explained Captain Kim. "Not so different from your vessels, I imagine." Threx watched the humans at work. "Your crew seems alert even though there's no emergency. Why?" "We train to be ready for anything," said Commander Park. "Space is dangerous. Systems fail. Unexpected things happen. We must be prepared." "Constant vigilance," muttered Threx. "A warrior's mindset." The tour continued to the ship's gym, where crew members were exercising. Some lifted weights, others ran on machines. "Why do they do this?" asked Threx. "It seems painful." "It makes us stronger," explained Captain Kim. "Human bodies adapt to stress. Without regular challenge, we grow weak." One of the Voidborn guards whispered something to Threx. The war commander's eyes showed surprise. "My officer says your people deliberately damage muscle fibers to make them grow back stronger. Is this true?" Captain Kim nodded. "Yes, it's how our bodies work. We become stronger through recovery from stress." Threx shook his head. "Remarkable and disturbing." Next, they visited the medical bay. Dr. Junho, the ship's doctor, was treating a crew member with a cut on his arm. "This is where we heal our injured," said Captain Kim. Threx watched as the doctor cleaned the wound and applied a bandage. "That injury would disable a Voidborn for days," he said. "Yet your crew member seems unconcerned." "It's a minor cut," said Dr. Junho. "It will heal completely in a few days." "And more serious injuries?" asked Threx. "We can regrow skin, repair bone, even replace some organs," said the doctor. "The human body is remarkably resilient." The tour continued through various parts of the ship. The Voidborn saw the weapons systems, the engine room, the living quarters. At each stop, Threx asked questions, and Captain Kim answered honestly. Finally, they entered a large room that had been specially prepared. It contained artwork created by the crew, musical instruments, and displays showing Earth's natural beauty. "What is this?" asked Threx, looking confused. "This is also humanity," said Captain Kim. "Not just our strength or our weapons, but our creativity and our love of beauty." One of the crew members began to play a soft melody on a piano. Another showed paintings she had made of her home on Earth. "You create art during a space mission?" asked Threx, clearly surprised. "Of course," said Commander Park. We're not just warriors or explorers. We're people with full lives. We create. We dream. We build things that have no purpose except to be beautiful." Threx seemed unsure how to respond. One of his guards was staring at the piano, fascinated by the music. As they continued the tour, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. "What's happening?" demanded Threx, his guards raising their weapons. "Engineering to bridge," came a voice over the intercom. "We have a radiation leak in Section 4. Emergency protocols activated." "This way," said Captain Kim calmly, leading the group to a nearby observation room. Through a window, they could see crew members rushing to contain the leak. They wore protective suits and moved with practiced speed. "Is this a trick?" asked Threx suspiciously. "A show for my benefit?" "No," said Commander Park, checking a datapad. "It's a real leak, though a minor one. These things happen on starships." They watched as the human crew worked to fix the problem. They were efficient and calm despite the danger. "Your people don't panic," observed Threx. "We're trained for emergencies," said Captain Kim. "Every crew member knows what to do." Suddenly, one of the Voidborn guards bumped into a control panel. Startled, he drew his weapon. It fired, sending an energy bolt through the window and into the engineering section. "No!" shouted Threx. The energy bolt hit Commander Park in the shoulder. She fell back, wounded but conscious. "Commander," Captain Kim knelt beside her. "Get Dr. Junho here now." The Voidborn guards raised their weapons, expecting retaliation, but no one attacked them. Instead, the human crew focused on helping Commander Park and continuing to fix the radiation leak. I apologize," said Threx, clearly shocked. "My guard was startled. It was not intentional." Despite her injury, Commander Park stood up, pressing a hand to her wounded shoulder. "I understand," she said through gritted teeth. "Accidents happen. You should rest," insisted Captain Kim. "After we finish containing the leak," she replied. "The crew needs all hands right now." She moved to a communication panel and began coordinating the emergency response, ignoring her own pain. Threx watched this with all four eyes wide. "She continues to work despite her injury." "Yes," said Captain Kim, "because others depend on her. That's what humans do. We keep going when we have to, not because we love pain or conflict, but because we care about each other." As Dr. Junho arrived to treat Commander Park, the emergency lights stopped flashing. The radiation leak had been contained. "All clear," announced a voice over the intercom. "Leak sealed and radiation levels returning to normal." Later, in the ship's conference room, Captain Kim sat across from War Commander Threx. Commander Park, her shoulder now bandaged, sat next to her captain. The Voidborn guards stood nervously behind their leader. "I've seen enough," said Threx finally. "Your species is everything our scans showed. Resilient, aggressive, adaptable. You thrive in conditions that would kill my people." Captain Kim nodded. "That's true. But that's not all we are. You've also seen our art, our music, our care for each other." "Yes," admitted Threx. "You are complex. More than we understood." He was quiet for a moment, then spoke again. "A century ago, the Voidborn met another species. They seemed peaceful at first. We welcomed them, shared our technology. Then they attacked without warning. Millions died before we drove them back." "I'm sorry to hear that," said Captain Kim. "Since then, we have been cautious with new species," continued Threx. "When we scanned your ship and saw your potential for violence, we feared another betrayal." "Humans can be dangerous when threatened," admitted Captain Kim. "But we prefer peace. We explore space seeking new knowledge and new friends, not new enemies." Threx stood up. "I must return to my ship and report to the High Command. I cannot promise peace, Captain Kim. But I will tell them what I have seen, that humans are more than warriors. Perhaps that will be enough to make them reconsider." "That's all I ask," said Captain Kim. a chance for our peoples to understand each other before decisions about war are made. As Threx's shuttle departed from the Dauntless, Captain Kim and Commander Park watched from the observation deck. "Do you think we convinced him?" asked Commander Park, her arm now in a sling. "I don't know," replied Captain Kim, "but we showed him the truth. Now it's up to him what he does with it." They were silent for a moment, watching the shuttle return to the Voidborn command ship. "If I may say so, sir," said Commander Park, "that was quite a gamble, inviting the enemy commander onto our ship." Captain Kim smiled slightly. "Diplomacy is always a gamble, but sometimes it's the only way forward." The shuttle docked with the Voidborn command ship. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then Officer Subin called from the bridge. "Captain, the Voidborn fleet is moving." They're leaving the system." Captain Kim and Commander Park looked at each other. It wasn't a promise of peace, but it was a start. The Voidborn had looked at humans and seen something terrifying. But now, perhaps, they had also seen something worth understanding. As the Dauntless prepared to return to Earth, Captain Kim knew that the journey toward peace between humans and Voidborn had only begun. There would be more challenges, more misunderstandings to overcome. But today, they had taken the first step. They had shown the Voidborn that what made humans dangerous could also make them valuable allies. It was a lesson both species would need to remember in the days to come. The stars stretched out before them as the ship turned toward home, carrying news of first contact, danger, and hope.